who have absences that right now will prevent you from taking the final exam next month. If you can expect an email from me this week, but if you think that you're close, then you need to immediately give me your excuses. Excuses will be due by no later than Friday. So I'll know who'll be taking the final exam. All right? Does anybody any questions about that? All right. And make sure you're shooting it from the same aim. But sometimes you turn it and just make sure it's finals next Monday. Next Monday, same time. Second of all, are there any seniors who are graduating this semester? No seniors? Okay, great. That takes care of that. All right. Well, third of all, does everybody get the announcement about the homework, or not, well, the homework, but more importantly, the group project on Wednesday? Everybody get that?
No, I didn't get none.
No, nobody got the. You didn't get it? Let's go to the. Okay, so the mock trial. This is a trial regarding the case of Sean, or the state's case, the state of Maryland versus Sean Urbanski. Does anybody recognize this case? Does anybody recognize the case of state of Maryland versus Sean Urbanski?
Yes.
Who's that?
That's the one who killed the Bowie State student.
It's the one who killed who?
The Bowie State student.
Who was the Bowie State student?
Lieutenant Richard
Lieutenant Richard
Collins.
Collins III. I'm asking you guys particularly to remember his name is because I was in a meeting just a couple of days ago, and he was my student, and I had stopped using his name as frequently as I had at the time of his death, and it just dawned upon me that I couldn't even remember his last name. And again, as a student body, with this case right here, being at the beginning of this semester, at the end of last semester, not even a full year, it's a shame that we're not doing more to recognize Lieutenant Richard Collins. Yes, ma'am.
So, we're doing a plaintiff and defendant on this one?
Exactly. So let me explain it. So there, in this scenario, does anybody remember what happened? First of all, does anybody remember what happened in this case? What happened, Mr. Asani? Take a stand. Take a stand.
So basically, Mr. Collins was waiting for his Uber ride with his friends, and the crazy guy came out of nowhere, asked him to move out of the way. Mr. Collins refused to move, and he was attacked by the crazy guy.
Now, you have made a statement. You have made a statement that, and mind you, the people who are going to be, again, in the defense need to listen to what he just said. You need to listen to what he just said because he actually pointed to your defense. You said that he was a what?
Crazy guy.
He's a crazy guy. Now, I don't think he's a crazy guy. I personally think that he was a murderous guy, right? That he was perhaps hateful guy. But I don't jump to the conclusion that he's crazy. Why is that, Mr. Hassan?
I'm guessing because there's no mental health proof of it.
In the last class, we established that there were two elements necessary in order to convict somebody on a crime. What were those, Mr. Hassan?
Mens rea, actus reus.
Mens rea.
The first one was what?
Just say actus reus.
Actus reus.
The actus reus being what?
The action that a person takes.
And then the what?
The mens rea.
Thank you.
The mens rea.
And the mens rea.
The mens rea being what?
Page 197.
The mental state.
The mental state. Now, again, we talked about the various, again, forms of mental state, right? You could have, again, intent, recklessness, criminal negligence, strict liability, right? However, if you say that he was crazy, then what does that attack?
That would be the mens rea attack. Just focus on the state of mind.
That's right. If you say that he was crazy, then that means that what?
He wasn't like all there.
That he could not have the mental state necessary to commit the crime of murder. And that is, in part, what this case is about, and that's what we're dealing with here in this remaining chapter. In the context of a violent crime, let's look at the violent crimes. You can have a seat. The violent crimes, in this case, there are several, right? They are larceny, burglary, obtaining goods by false pretenses, violent crimes. What is the most important element of a violent crime? I'm sorry, let me go back, first of all. We said that burglary, larceny, and obtaining false pretenses are property crimes, not violent crimes. The violent crimes are defined by a particular element. What, Mr. Copeland, what's the significance, what is the important element necessary in a violent crime? First of all, what are the violent crimes? No, let's step one step back, first of all. One step back. Before we get to violent crimes, let us talk about, again, the idea of a crime being committed by a business versus a crime being committed by an individual. Mr. Copeland, step down. Okay? Miss Green, tell us, what is the significance of a crime being committed by a company versus a crime being committed by a individual? First of all, in terms of the two elements. Ms. Hall, you want to help her out?
Is it white collar crime?
Okay, I'm asking you to go into detail of, again, crimes. What is the significance, again, looking at the two elements that we discussed before, right? Being what?
Actus reus and mens rea.
And mens rea. So how can a corporation be guilty of a criminal act?
The action. You're talking about the strict liability crime?
No, I'm not asking about strict liability crime. I'm asking about how again, a crime can be committed by a corporation? First of all, Miss,
You're talking about the different types.
I'm asking, how can a crime be committed by a corporation? Let's ask Miss Hall. Miss Hall, so you got is that an HU shirt on you got over there? What is that? Huh?
This is high school.
High school. Okay, I thought Howard. That's a Howard County shirt. Huh? Okay, we give a little bit of love to Howard County. Tell me, how can a crime be committed by a corporation? First of all,
corporations normally are liable for crimes committed by their agents and employees within the course and scope of their employment. For liability to be imposed, the prosecutor generally must show that the corporation could have prevented the act or that a supervisor authorized or had knowledge of the act. In addition, corporations can be criminally liable for failing to perform specific duties imposed by law, such as duties under environmental laws or security laws.
absolutely. Now, let's go to you, back to you, Miss Green.
820.
What is a corporation?
As a legal entity created under law.
Aha. First of all, stop. So a corporation is a what?
A legal entity created under the law.
A legal entity created under law. What is a person?
A person?
What is a person? No, I'm asking, don't look for what is a human being? What is a person?
Not being a person is not
What is a person?
a human being. What?
A human being, and how is that created?
By two people.
Huh?
He's not.
Aha! Listen. That's right, Mr. Parks. Mr. Parks, what you say? Go ahead and take a stand, brother.
It's human beings are not by nature under law. I guess under
That's right. No, they are. They're also again recognized by the law, but they're not what by the law? Huh?
defined or bound.
Starts with letter C. Miss Hall, can you get it? Created. Listen to it. Listen. That's my great law school professor, J. Clay Smith, used to talk about. Listen to the organic nature of your statement. Again, that's how you answer these questions, right? Especially, again, in the context of the bar exam. If you ever take the bar exam, they frame the answer in the body of the question, right? So the question was, right, you gave a description about a legal entity or a corporation being a legal entity created by what, Miss Green?
Under the law.
Created by the law. Again, a person we have is created, again, through the procreation of human beings, right? It's created by people, right? Created, really, when we talk about created by people, what does that connotate? It's created by what? That's right. The Almighty. How can a human being gestate in the body of another human being after being implanted by something from another human being? And all of that is what? Huh? All of that is a what? It's a miracle.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, it's a miracle, right? Because again, there's no other way of understanding. Again, this kind of almost goes out the confines of law, but we're just making a comparison, right? And so corporations, again, have been over the years, they have been given rights akin to what? They have been given rights similar to what, Ms. Hall? To people. That's right, Ms. Green. Corporations have been given rights similar to human beings, right? So with a right, with every right, there comes another R. What is that? With every right, your mother, responsibility. Did your mother ever say that? With every right, there comes what? Responsibility. Okay, you want to use the car? Huh? That's right. You got to put the gas in it, right? You got to take out the trash, right? Got to do that homework, right? Again, responsibilities come along with this now. So corporations, you want to be treated, again, as human beings. You want these rights. Then let's, again, make sure that you're going to be now responsible for your acts. And so how does a corporation act, Miss Hall?
825.
Thank you.
Can we sit?
You can sit. Ms. Hall, how does a corporation act?
Corporate directors and officers are personally liable for crimes they commit regardless of whether the crimes are committed for their private benefit or on the corporation's demand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A corporate officer. Now you said earlier, use another word. Start with an A. The words you used were A, it starts with an A and an E. When you were saying corporations can be held liable by their what? By the acts committed by their agents and their employees, right? So again, going back to the first element, how can a corporation be held liable?
For the crimes committed by their agents.
Exactly, for the actions, right? For the actions committed by their agents and employees, right? So the corporation, can the corporation go to jail? Huh? The distinction. A person can go to jail. But can a corporation go to jail? So how is the corporation punished? Now, let's put a pin in that. Let's go back to, again, the action itself. So we've established that companies can be held liable on the first element of the crime based upon the what of their employees and the acts. That's right. Thank you. The acts. So now, Ms. Hall, since you got that, tell me. Let's get Ms. Hodge in. You've been standing up. Go ahead. Go ahead. You have a seat, Ms. Hall. Ms. Hodge. Let me ask you. So again, the company we've determined have committed acts. So now, how's the second element of the crime established through a company?
The second element, and then, like, they're gonna be fined. Like, if they
The second element of a crime, there were two elements, right? First was what? The first was what? The criminal act. The second being the what? Second being the what, Miss King? First being the what, Miss Hodge? You said what?
the act,
And then the second being the what? We were just talking about it.
gonna be a fine.
Huh? No, we were just talking about it just a moment ago. The two elements. What was it, Miss King? Come on. Students, we were just talking about this. Huh? In order to have responsibility, you have to have the what? The mental state, Miss King. Thank you. The mental state. Now again, going back to you, Miss Hodge, how can a company have the mental state? Ms. King, how can a company have the mental state? How can a company who is not a human being, right, be nevertheless responsible and have been deemed to have the, again, mindset necessary for a crime to be committed? In this case, we're discussing the University of Maryland. So again, there's two defendants in the mock trial, right? Who are the two defendants? The University of Maryland and who? Sean who? Urbanski. Don't forget the name. See, that's what happens. We forget the names of both the victim and the assailant. We have a collective memory loss. And then that harms everybody because we don't remember. You have to remember this because it actually relates to the discussion that was happening in the what case? What case have we been studying? Coalition of what? Coalition for what? Coalition for what?
Higher education.
And higher education versus who?
The Maryland Higher Education Commission.
Again, you got to memorize. You got to understand these things. Don't think they're not going to come back to you in a week. Hint, hint. Thank you. Again, the names are important. So again, going back to the University of Maryland, how can the University of Maryland, Ms. King, be deemed to have had the mental state necessary in order to be convicted of a crime? Miss Hodge? Go ahead. Give it to me. Come on, Miss Hodge. Come on, Miss Hodge, please. We gotta leave this point. Give it to me. Corporations. Let's read together, everybody. Everybody, please. In fact, everybody stand. Everybody stand, please. Everybody stand. Everybody, please stand up. Just have a quick stand. Exercise. Say it together. Corporations
may be convicted
if one crime is within agent or employee's scope of employment, or crime, everybody, crime authorized or requested by what?
Corporate.
Together?
By corporate principal. Or
corporate
officers.
principal or what?
Officers.
Thank you. Have a seat. It's hot. It's King right in front of you. That's how the mental state. And so, going back to what you said, or what Miss Hall said, tell us about, again, how what is the doctrine that talks about the mental state of corporate officers, being the directors and the officers. Tell you what, why don't you give me an example? Give me an example.
The responsible corporate officer.
Yeah, first of all, the theory is called the what? It's a doctrine of what?
The liability of the corporate officers in that way.
The doctrine of what? What is it?
Responsible corporate officer.
Exactly. That's why you got to do this reading before you come to this class. This is the last week. Come on now. responsible corporate officers is what, Ms. King?
The responsible corporate officer doctrine, under the accord may impose criminal liability on the corporate officer who participated in, directed, and merely knew about a given criminal violation.
Okay, so give me the example, Ms. Hodge, so we can have you all sit down. Give me the example.
The Roscoe family owned the
35.
Thank you.
which operated an underground storage tank that leaked gasoline. Employee John Johnson reported the leak to the state environmental agency, and the Roscoe's hired an environmental services firm to clean up the spill. The cleanup did not occur immediately, however. The state sent many notices to John Roscoe, a corporate officer, warning him that the company was violating federal and state environmental laws. Roscoe gave the letters to Johnson, who passed them to the environmental services firm, but the spill was not cleaned up. The state eventually filed criminal charges against the corporation and the Roscoe's individually. They were convicted under the responsible corporate officer doctrine. The Roscoe's were in positions of responsibility. They had influence over the corporation's actions, and their failure to act constituted a violation of environmental law.
Okay, thank you. So now, Miss Sydney Hall, you're back in the room. Tell me now, you guys can have a seat. Miss Sydney Hall, tell me, apply the doctrine of corporate responsibility to the University of Maryland based upon the facts that we know about this case that is given in the fact pattern. One, you said that they should be aware, they were made aware of what?
That he had a weapon?
And that is in the fact? I'm asking you to read from the fact pattern. But let's just assume that, for the purposes of this. The fact pattern being the assignment that was posted yesterday. Next, based upon what you know, just give me based upon what you know. What's another possible, again, connection of corporate responsibility? Something that they should have known or that they knew about. Or Ms. Murray we just left out, right? So, Mr. Muslim, tell me. What else do we know about this case? Either from the facts that we gave you or the fact you know. What else should the University of Maryland have known? What did we talk about in the class last time? Is the University of Maryland a bastion of equality? Is it a bastion of diversity? What's the percentage of African Americans in the state of Maryland? Do you know? Guess. At least 40%, right? Are there 40% of the student population at the University of Maryland, College Park, are they African American? No! No! Right? So how can, again, the University of Maryland be considered as, again, diverse, right? If you don't have a representation of the people who are, again, your residents, right? So again, Mr. Muslim, what is another thing that the campus knew? Think about it.
There were racists on the campus.
Ha! They knew, right? That there were racists on the campus. They knew that the population of this campus was not reflecting even the community right outside their door in College Park. How can you be called, again, a diverse institution when you do not allow the people? Yes, ma'am?
It's only 29% in Maryland.
You said the African American population is?
Yes, and 13% at University of Maryland.
Okay. 29%, 13%, at least what? Half. Half. I would argue that number is underinflated. I would argue perhaps that number doesn't include people who are perhaps biracial. I would argue that. Thank you. Or Latino, for that matter. You know what I mean? Again, what the population of Latinos. So again, that's one of the things that can be argued, right? Mr. Muslim? Any other docs? Okay. So again, you're going to argue from the prosecution that these are the things that could convict, right, the University of Maryland and hold their corporate officers criminally liable for the death of who? Lieutenant Richard Collins III. That's going to be the context of the criminal responsibility on the corporate side. Okay, you guys can have a seat. Now tell me about what is going to be the necessary elements in order to show the criminal liability of the other defendant, that's Lieutenant Richard Collins. Miss May, tell me about it. What are you going to have to show in order to prove the element? What is the crime being alleged here? Two crimes. First, a state crime of what? State crime of what? State crime of what? Murder. What is murder defined as? Unlawful, right? Break those down. Unlawful, 1. 2 being what? Premeditated. 3 being what? Killing. Next being what? That's right. Because if you kill a deer, which is what's happening out in Rock Creek Park right now, can you be guilty of murder? No matter how beautiful Bambi looks, can you be held responsible for murder? Because of what?
Because he's not a human being.
The deer is not a human being. By what? What's the last element? By what? Another. Right? So if a machine on its own explodes and kills a human being, is that again a murder? Not necessarily, right? Unless, or again, going back to the idea of corporate responsibility, or the doctrine of corporate responsibility, right? The directors were new, or should have known that machine was going to, again, cause that act. So those are the types of things that you need to, again, focus on in the context of this particular case. You're going to have an opportunity to have the defense and the prosecution. In this case, we said that the that teams 2 and 5 will be assigned to represent the state. So we're going to have 2 hearings. The first hearing is going to be against team 2. The second hearing will be against the team 1. Team 1, you are going to be defending the University of Maryland, right? Based upon what we discussed. Team 4, you're going to be defending Sean Urbanski. And team 3, who's team 3? Team 3, you all are going to be the judges.
8:45.
Now don't think you have no work as a judge. That's all the smile going back there, right? Don't think you have no work.
Hey.
Mr. Hassan. Mr. Hassan.
Yes, sir.
How do you defend an accused murder?
Well, you have to you have to prove that you have to prove something. Most of the time, most of these cases, when something like this happens, they prove what I said earlier on, that he's not mentally there. So,
Mr. Tucker, help him. Help him. Help him. Mr. Tucker, come on.
What was the question?
How do you just show that there was no murder?
Well, that's gonna be hard. That's gonna be hard.
Hold on, Mr. May. How do you show there's no murder?
Why you standing up? Did you call you? That was quick.
What did you just read? Go ahead. Go ahead. Help out.
You have to challenge one of the components of
Exactly. That's it. That's it. Thank you. You said to me, Mr. May, you gave me what the elements of murder are. So all you have to do, Attorney Green, is to do what?
Show how one of the elements is not right.
Exactly. Show the absence of what, Mr. Hassan?
menstruative.
You can show the absence of the men's rape, one. Or you can show the absence of what, Mr. May? Those 5 things that you talked about. Thus your answer.
So it's something that we can make up, right? Because I'm just saying, like.
Yeah, you have to argue. You got the facts, right? Now you can argue how, again, one of these elements are not met. Okay.
So 2 and 5, that's the same. Are we doing the same thing?
Exactly. So there's going to be 2 hearings. One hearing, team 2, is going to be again against team 1. We'll do again the different roles that were discussed here. Again, opening statement, attorney for the direct examination, attorney for cross-examination, attorney for closing statement. You also need some witnesses. All right, some witnesses. There's going to be a witness. So every team has to have at least one witness. You can identify who those witnesses are. All right. In the context of the witness for the university, who do you think might be the witness for the university? We'll update it right here. Huh? Who is the witness for the university? In order to be guilty, who's the person? Who are the corporate officers? Who's the top corporate officer of the University of Maryland? Who's the top corporate officer of Bowie State? The president. So the president is going to have to be a witness, right? You might also have as a witness who? Who's the first person on the scene? The police. So the police chief, second possible witness, right? Now the police could be a witness for who? Both sides, right? On the Urbanski side, Who is the witness? The first witness? Urbanski?
The students.
Himself. Right? The defendant. And who's second?
Police.
Would that be the president of the college as well?
Well, I think there were two people. He was with another person at the time, right?
Yeah,
I thought
no,
about
Mr.
it.
Collins was with.
Urbanski was by himself?
Yeah, he was by himself.
Okay, but Urbanski was by himself. I thought he was, okay.
No, he was by himself.
Let's assume, okay, we know that Urbanski went to a party afterwards, right? So again, a student witness at the party, for example. So those are the two witnesses that you're going to have. One, the president, on the side of the president. Two, the police chief, right? Then on the other end, you have, again, Urbanski and a friend at the party, right? They're going to testify to whether or not these, again, elements were there. So you have, first of all, you're going to have the direct examination being the questions being asked by the attorney to the witnesses. What's your name? What's your date? What's your connection to this particular incident? What did you see, right? And then, on the other hand, the cross-examination is by the prosecution to do what? To ask the witness, right? To ask cross. So the witnesses are there to try to say, no, there's no elements. The elements are not there. But the cross-examination is going to try to poke what? Holes in the witness's statement. Oh, you said this. You said that Mr. Urbanski was not angry. But was it not true that when he was seen at the party, that he was seen to be agitated and irritated? Those are the types of things you're going to be, again, asking. And then the same thing on the prosecution. Prosecution going to bring its witnesses, and the defense is going to try to come and poke holes and ask questions to that witness that undermines his or her statement. See that? Then lastly, you're going to have a closing statement. All right? These are the things that are going to exist